Dalton, Riley, Wolves and Wagers. Tough one tonight, Rye.
Yep.
Thoughts?
You know, I'm going to put the gambling side of things away for now. Obviously, that could have been better to us on the night.
You're
Not
not wrong.
not a good night for us gambling wise, but more importantly, at least to me, Timber Puffs, man. I mean, it's a tough place to play. I get, haven't won there since 2004. Can see why. It's just on the road, tough place to play. It's a good gritty squad. The Raptors are always going to be a tough out. They're not going to ever roll over. I really like what they're doing over there. I like their wings, but man, it just felt like Timberwolves kept shooting themselves in the foot. It was a very winnable game that they let get away. I'll kick it to you actually first, but I want to hear some of your thoughts, and I'll bounce some of my ideas off you on what I thought of this tough L.
Yeah, I just was expecting a little bit cleaner basketball, to be honest with you. Cat has been playing all off season. Ant has been playing all off season, even Rudy, so I was expecting it to be a little bit cleaner for a first game. And, coming off of, the playoff series last season, I know Cat and Rudy, I think played like 128 minutes in that series together. And if you look at all of last season, they only played like 119 minutes. So still kind of trying to figure that out. And I think it rides a lot on Cat. Rudy played pretty dang good tonight, man. But yeah.
One of the few bright spots.
That's kind of where I'm at. It was just not a very clean game. Both teams under 100 points. It just wasn't very pretty basketball there, especially in the first half.
Yeah, I think you make some good points. I have some notes wrote down here. I'll start off with my good, and I'm going to be honest, there's not a lot. Rudy Gobert, like you touched on, Rudy Gobert was part of it. I wish he did shoot a little bit better. As a center, who's especially his play style, everything's right around the rim. Wish he was a little better than 6 of 12. I do, but still 50%. He finished with 15 points, pretty good free throw percentage, 13 boards, like 4 blocks, 2 steals. Like he was stuffing the stat sheet. He was doing everything they could have asked from him. I do wish Pirtle was, his thumbprints or fingerprints weren't as much on this game as they were as far as second chance points. I'll get into that later because that was the difference in the game. The first couple possessions there. The Raptors first possession, 2 offensive boards, ends with I don't know if it was an OG3 or a Siakam. I think it was a Siakam 3, but you're not going to get away giving teams like the Raptors 3 looks. And, that's, you lost by 3. You finished that possession. And I think their second buck of the game, too, was the same thing. I think it was a Pirtle putback. So it's a lot of the immature traits that the Wolves had last year. Seems like some of them have carried over, not finishing possessions and stuff like that. Some of the other good, I had Ant 3-point shooting in a night where the Wolves did not shoot well, which we'll both talk about later. Ant was 4-7 from deep. I do wish he took a few more. And really, I only count him as I think he was more so like 4 for 5 or 6 because he forced a couple there at the end. Just when, you needed, and it was kind of garbage time at that point. So I love that. I also love him snagging 14 rebounds. He was out there trying to help with the issues there. So I love that from him. And that's literally all I have in the good. My second, and then in the average, I have Kyle Anderson. That's literally the only thing I have wrote down is Kyle Anderson, which he was 3-9 from the floor, but still filled out the stat sheet. A lot of missed push shots around the rim, but he was still doing his thing. Had that ugly play where they were in transition there and he just decides to fall over with the ball, turn it over. So I don't know what that was, but that's kind of what I have from the good. So I'll kick it to you if you want to talk about what you saw or liked about this game.
Yeah, I think Jake Milton, he actually put really good minutes. Hit a big shot, was active. I think had a couple steals that led to, I think, a slow-mo layup on one of them. I just think, that was a really good addition to the second unit. When I look at this second unit, that's probably the most improved thing from last year's squad. You got pretty much almost a starting lineup like they were saying before the game as a second unit. Minnesota hasn't had that in years. We've barely had a 5, let alone 2 potential starting units. So I think that was Milton was a really, really nice addition, especially for the first game. Wasn't really expecting much out of him, but I can see why you were excited and kind of the media was excited. And an underrated addition, I think, for the Wolves this coming season for sure. But that was about it. My positive list was not nearly as long as yours, and that's pretty short. So pretty tough night, man. I think this was just a winnable game. I think it's gonna come back, and we're gonna be like kind of like the Vikes with the Bucks.
Yep.
You know, I think we're gonna kind of look back the same way and be like, hey, two decent opponents, but you gotta win those ball games.
Yeah.
And especially when we kind of look at the Western Conference down the road. I mean, look at the Spurs Mavs
The gauntlet
game. You know, so you got to win these games because down the road, there's going to be a lot of teams with 48, 49. I'm not sure if there's going to be a lot of 50-win teams in the Western Conference.
It could literally just be the Nuggets.
So this game, I think, could come back to haunt us a little bit. No disrespect to the Raptors. I think they got actually a pretty good squad, but they missed out on Damian Lillard. They had Dennis Schroeder. Now, he was MVP of FIBA. But come on, dude, let's be real. Like, we got to be winning this game, especially with all the momentum that Ann had this offseason.
Yeah, and, you know, it's kind of funny because I touched on the little bit of the good parts of Ant, which I'm sure you saw as well, but Shake Milton was the only other part in your good list. And to be honest, it wasn't even that great of a Shake game either as far as 1 for 5 from the floor, right? Great addition. I mean, we wholeheartedly agree in that, but and he did. I just felt like he wasn't fitting in seamless as I thought a guy like him would. And I think he had like 3 fouls in the first couple minutes he was playing. But
yeah, first half wasn't great.
I just think overall, you know, this game clearly doesn't fall on his shoulders. I think it falls for the most part 2 guys and mainly just 1 guy. I mean, we look at Ant's efficiency, we can point to that, and we should. Like, you got to shoot better than. What was he, 31% from the floor? I don't have it in front of me, but he shot 27 attempts for 26 points, right? Like, that's not going to get it done. But man, Karl Anthony Towns, he's in year 9. It's time for him to stop
turnover.
And and Utah, we talk about this all the time. Utah knew how to use Rudy. Donovan Mitchell knew how to use Rudy, which was don't use him. But in general, you know, like, they're not giving him post touches. They're lobbing to him. And that's where Rudy was great tonight, was off of putbacks and lobs. But it felt like, and Kat did connect with him a few times. But
yeah, one time for sure, I remember I was like, yeah, that's solid.
Nice lob, yeah. But it just felt like Kat was trying to force the issue there at times where it's like, Kat, you got nobody within 5 feet of you. Why are you not taking that shot?
Take the shot.
Like, what are you doing? So that, I don't know. It's just tough because he's got all the talent in the world and he showed a lot of his bright spots. But man, it's year 9. I mean, we got to start getting over some of these things. And for the fact that he is this late in his career, even though he's still, you know, on the right side of 30, it's not encouraging that these things are going to change. And he did a good job in the first quarter. Him and Ant didn't look like they were bitching much to the officials, but man,
no,
that kind of changed later on. They were both harping a little bit and trying to get a call. And Cat had that swat where he tried to block. I can't remember who it was. And he instantly starts complaining to the official and going like, how is that a foul? And it's like, dude, you just hacked him. Like, how are you even? But yeah, I don't know. If you want to talk about Cat, go ahead a little bit.
I think it just comes down to, you know, just controlling his body. Once Cat starts flailing around, that's when refs aren't going to give him calls, and then he's going to start whining about calls. But when Cat is controlled and taking the shots that he can knock down dudes, like, he's one of the best shooting bigs in the history of the game, man. Like, he is a legit all-NBA center, but you know how he is. He's clunky. He gets his arms flailing around and he just goes and he'll fall to the ground. And now you got a 4-on-5 or you got a 3-on-2. So it's just, Cat just needs to kind of calm down. And he did a good job of that to start the game. And then right in the second half, just right kind of back on, you know, the same stuff that we've seen over and over again. But my biggest thing with Cat is there that big a difference between him and Nas right now?
Yeah, and, you know,
in your opinion, you know,
I obviously from a talent standpoint there is, but from what we've seen as of late, their impact as far as like overall positive to negative impact, like when you look at it, they are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And Nas, now he's the Warriors killer, and he'll have those games where he'll get in the mid-20s or upper 20s and
Yeah, 25. Yeah.
He's not going to take over and win a game like Cat can and has in his career. And talent. That's just what drives me nuts. This Cat is full of all this talent, but I don't know. And Finch earlier this year, he did talk about maybe I use Nas, Cat, and Rudy all at the same time. I think that would be fun. I did like the minutes of Cat at the 5 and Nas at the 4. I thought those were somewhat productive tonight, and I don't have any proof of that. Like, didn't do my any research. We're just kind of live reacting here after the game. But from what I was seeing, as what I want throughout the game, is that it looked a little cleaner. There was that one attempt where same thing where Cat could have just taken a floater or probably just went and dunked it, but instead he tried to push lob, it seemed, to Nas. And Nas was just getting ready to box out and try and get an offensive board. And so then it ended up as a turnover, and Cat I heard him on screen go, Nas, I wanted to lob.
Yeah.
No, why are you lobbing that there? Just slam that.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, Nas is without shoes, he's 6'8". He's not anywhere near as tall as Rudy. You can do that with Rudy a bit more, but I think Cat was 2 of 10 from 3. That doesn't concern me too much because he had 3 or 4 that were in and out, up and down.
In and out.
It wasn't like he was bricking those by a mile. They were all right around. You're going to have those nights where they're just not falling. Yep. So I'm not too concerned about that. I do like the volume he shot with. That is another positive takeaway. I also like how in that first quarter when Ant was hot early, he was deferring to him. And then as soon as he subbed out, that's when Cat was okay, now it's my turn. And he went and got a couple post hooks. In our earlier episode from today, I was talking about how I was about done with Cat post touches, and then sure enough, his first 2 post touches of the season result in buckets. But later on, he tried in that first half again. He tried that late in the shot clock, the over the shoulder half no look pass. You probably got a 5% completion rate on those. But I'll move on from Cat here because we've rightfully so we've gave him hard enough time for now. But another thing I was really disappointed with is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. When we were discussing for this video, we both had the same exact thing: 0 for 3 on wide open 3-pointers.
Wide open.
Those are ones you got to knock down, huh?
Oh yeah, and I think especially to start the game, to get momentum going, especially with Ant cooking there. Knocks down, one to start the game. We're all pumped. We're all hyped. Especially with Jaden being out, and we can kind of talk about that a little bit more too. I think Jaden knocks those shots down, and we're talking about a whole completely different ball game, especially when Na missed that open one late in the game. Yep. You gotta knock that down if you're gonna win these games, because there's a lot of good teams this year, and you gotta knock down those clutch shots. And I've been impressed with Na, back to last season, but his defense is fantastic, but you got to have the 3-point side of things. Yeah. Play consistent minutes in this offense,
Yeah, and that's a fantastic point. Na did a lot of great things for us last year in the having to step up. I don't think the Wolves ever saw him as just a throw-in piece in the Conley and D'Lo trade. I think they did think, hey, this is a guy who could get some rotational minutes for us.
Yeah,
and then with Jaden breaking his hand and Nas being out, even though, obviously Nas not a big man, but he became a guy who got a lot of minutes there in the postseason. He was starting games. He was starting for Jaden. And so I'm not too worried about it. I'm not going to overreact.
No, me either.
Just to that. But I do wish Chris Finch would have seen the game flow a little bit more. And that's where you go to say, hey, it's not working with Na, even though he's competing hard defensively. How about we give Troy Brown a little more run? I don't know how many minutes he got tonight, but I don't even know if I saw him in the second half. And if it was for a very short time. And, that's a guy who does a lot of the same things that Na does. He's going to knock down threes and he's going to compete on defense and play a little defense. So I wish Finch would have maybe bought some more minutes there with Troy Brown to try and get things righted. But overall, I think Finch coached a pretty good game. I liked a lot what I saw from the offense. It just shots weren't falling, and it was funny because in the video today, I talked about the only guy I want isoing is Ant. Man, the ball was pretty sticky, and it's awesome when it works, but there's got to be a time when you start to swing it a little bit, and he actually alluded to that. I saw just a few post game press or quotes from him in his press conference. He talked about, I don't know what I was thinking or doing out there. I wasn't passing it. I'll fix it for next game. We'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've heard that answer from him before. And me and you, we both want Ant taking a lot of shots, but it seemed like there's a lot of forced floaters where he was just trying to draw a foul. That's not his game. Go hard, go straight into him. Make the refs call foul. They're not going to bail you out if you're falling onto the ground away from the play. So.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think when Rudy has a performance like tonight, we got to take advantage of that. But I think with Jaden being out, that was the X factor. So that's why I'm not too worried, about maybe Cat not having his best performance and Ant not maybe shooting like we would like him to. Because you put Jaden back on this team tonight, I think you're winning by 10 plus points.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a perfect matchup to go against OG, to go against Scotty Barnes, to go against Gary Trent, to where some of those, wide open threes that they were knocking down. Siakam came up clutch there at the end too. I just think
two big ones down the stretch there?
Yeah, two big ones. But I think getting Jaden back we're really going to start seeing an elite level team. And is he going to be back for Saturday against Miami? Have you heard much? Or
yeah, I think he will. They've listed him as day to day, but when he did his whole after he signed his contract extension and he did a little promo thing for the social media of the Wolves, I saw it and he said, "We'll see you on Saturday for the Heat." So I think that meant he knew he was going to be out this game, and that was before we did. It was because it wasn't until yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago that they released that Jaden would be out. So I think that meant to him, I'm playing Saturday against the Heat, and he'll draw the Jimmy matchup, which should help. And I agree. I think they win, not with ease, but I think they win pretty handily, at least, by a couple possessions maybe. They shot, 26% from deep tonight? Couldn't buy it from deep. Probably shoot 30%. If everybody else misses the shots they did, if Jaden's in there, he probably gets you 2 or 3 more threes on relative efficient shooting. And that's the difference right there. And like you said, even if he takes away one Pascal 3 or OG, whoever it may be, Scotty Barnes, whoever, that's now the ball game's tied. And then when he makes a couple of his own, now you're winning. So
yeah, and I just don't think OG's having that run like he did. No disrespect to OG. I think
couldn't miss, dude.
He's actually, he shot 39% or something last year. I did not know that. Because I think he's averaging 20 points a night too. So the Raptors got a solid squad, so it's not the worst loss in the world, but this is a very winnable ball game, especially coming off all the off-season hype. And then Jaden McDaniels, dude, Monday was a big day for Timberwolves fans, man. Getting Jaden McDaniel, I did not think it was going to happen. I thought their numbers were going to be too far apart with Devin Vassell getting a bag. Now, he looked nice. He's got a nice little jumper too, and he's a nice little player. But I thought that was going to hurt the Timberwolves and the Jaden McDaniels. And he was like, we'll retalk this summer. So to get him re-signed, we got this team that is arguably one of the best in team history, locked and loaded. Nas coming back on, we would probably say, a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, he was offered more money by the Cavs.
Yeah.
And he decided to come back and be the third big man.
Yeah. So to get this team back, I'm not sounding the alarm. You're not either by any means. But this was a very winnable ball game, and I think it could sting for a little while, much like the Bucks won. That's kind of my big comparison,
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there, referencing that, where it's just you right now, you in the moment, you're like, hey, long season, right? That's maybe what the Wolves are thinking, what other fans are thinking, and that's a good, rightfully so, right? It is a long season. But man, when you start thinking about the grand scheme of things, that could have been a loss, that could have been a win there, that could have been a win there. This is going to be one of those where you do look back and say, yeah, that one would have been nice to have. Overall, like you said, it's not doomsday. It's really not. But I am disappointed how we see a lot of immature traits from last year carrying over into this year.
Yeah, in the first half, To be honest with you, I didn't see much of that. And maybe it was because Ant was kind of cooking and especially in the first quarter, we kind of had that early lead. But even Cat just seemed like he was relaxed. And they were, just feeding off of all of the kind of playing together this off season. And then the second half, we just didn't see that. I mean, even Ant had, a couple, I think one bad turnover for sure there that I remember. And then
Mhm.
Cat, you just can't be having those bad turnovers, man. You miss a contested shot, Cat or Ant, I'm fine with that. A
Yep.
contested shot by one of those two is sometimes a better shot than a not open three on nights
Yes.
like tonight.
Yeah.
So
Depending on
I'm
how the
fine with
flow
that.
is.
Bad shots, but some of those turnovers, man, like they're all NBA talents. You don't see that from all NBA talents, and not from
Yeah.
both of them on the same night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when you watch championship level teams, right? Like when you're watching
Yeah,
the best teams in the league, it's very rare where you see super like unforced, like completely unforced self-inflicted turnovers. The one that sticks out to me right now, Nah
it's
gets
a
the
nah,
rebound.
nah, bingo.
We didn't even talk about that before we started recording this, and it just Ant coming on the side. I don't. That's probably on both of them. Like Ant's always calling for the
Mm-hmm.
ball in transition early, so he should have been ready for it. But Nah also can't throw it while he's running towards like on the side, not looking. Especially because Ant probably doesn't think he's getting it because he's like 3 feet from Nah. It would just
And
make more
that's where it's
sense for
gonna.
Ant to space the corner and not keep bringing the ball up the court. And instead, he
Yeah,
just kind of threw it into the back of Ant. But so I don't know. It's just you don't see that from teams who win big games, right? Who have been there, done that. That's a younger team trait. And the problem is this isn't a super young Wolves team, right? Like obviously your nucleus of of Ant and Jaden is, but
yes.
Cat's in year 9. We've said that all video long. He's approaching 30 years old. Rudy is over 30. I mean, Mike Conley, I think we got probably a wheelchair for him here pretty soon. No disrespect to him.
But
But
on the line, that sucked.
yeah, so long term, still the outlook of the Wolves is very, very bright. Many teams would love to be in the Wolves situation, but at the same time, this isn't like the baby Thunder way back when with, a young KD and Westbrook. Like you went all in with a big time trade, and so now it's time to win. It's no longer we're content with making the play in and then having a playoff series and getting bounced in the first round. It's time to win a playoff series and make a run. And so they'll figure things out. I really do think they will, but just tough one to swallow tonight.
Yeah, and just carrying the momentum to Target Center. Minneapolis is ready for some Timberwolves basketball, dude. And who's coming to town?
Yep, the big man.
Miami. So it's just better to get that win in Toronto, have a short flight back, and just get ready for a Saturday night showdown. So that's just what stings. And then what I look at, you mentioned it, we want to win a playoff series. And I think that's a realistic goal for the first time since probably KG.
Right. Yeah. Like legit
I mean,
0405.
Yeah.
Like the year after they won or went to the conference finals.
Yep.
It was shortly after that they blew it up.
Yeah, seriously, like 2 years, 07 or whatever. So I think it kind of comes down to if you want to become a top 4 seed, which I think you want to have Target Center in a best of 7 to win a series. I think we want to be a top 4 seed. You need to win these games. Look at the Mavs. Question of the day. Who do you got ahead in your power rankings after tonight? Now, I'm not saying we're getting all like worked up on Luka looking nasty because he always does, and Timberwolves losing the Raptors. But I would probably now put the Mavs slightly ahead of the Timber Pups.
Yeah.
And they weren't really in discussion, in my opinion,
Yeah, I think you make a fantastic point. I think what's going to be bad for the league is Luka has not Dwight Powell at center, right? They went and addressed that. Derek Lively looked nice tonight. And like, that's probably a match made in heaven, right? Like a lob threat like that, just an absolute rim runner who can finish pretty much anywhere around the rim. Like, that's perfect for a guy like Luka because you're going to do everything in your power to take away Luka, and then that's going to lead to wide open dunks. And so right
Yep.
now, having a guy like Kyrie Irving, who I know you are super, super high on. I mean, we've like our whole throughout high school, even into college, like
Love him.
how many mixed Kyrie mixtapes, like all this,
Probably
like,
too many.
yeah, like it's not a seamless fit with Luca, but you have two dogs. And
Oh,
when you have two of the top, however many players you want to say in the league on
yeah,
any given day, two arguably top 10 players, call me
for
crazy.
sure.
Like
No,
some
seriously.
people aren't going to be as high on Kyrie in this day and age, but it wasn't that long ago. He was dropping 27 a night for the Nets.
Yep. On really efficient shooting. Like, wasn't he close to like 90, 50, 40?
Yeah,
You know?
that exclusive club where
Yep.
not many have gone before.
No, no. But yeah, like you said, I'm still super pumped. I know we got, quite a bit of content coming out. I don't know if you kind of want to run down anything else from
Yeah, sure.
tonight's matchup. And then we can kind of lean into what we got in the future here.
Yeah, I think that's probably all we need to touch on the Wolves game. I think it was a pretty good rant from us. Everything I'm seeing in my notes here, we pretty much touched on. Um, we didn't mention at the beginning, but this is going to be called, and you'll see it in the title. This is going to be called Wolves After Dark. We're not going to do this for every loss, and we probably won't do it after a lot of wins. Now, maybe if like somebody hits a game winner, then we might hop on and
Or a
discuss.
50-piece,
Right.
yeah. His first one or something,
Yep. But these episodes that are uploaded directly after, or not directly, but like after the same night of a Wolves game, we're gonna kind of reserve them for when we think it was a bad loss, right? And we're gonna call it Wolves After Dark. It's gonna be unfiltered. We're for the most part not scripted. We'll kind of just bounce ideas off each other prior to like see what we're gonna talk about, but that's pretty much it. And then we're just gonna rant about the Wolves. But going forward, what we have decided every day you will get our gambling picks. Now you might not want to here. I mean, you guys stick with us. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Today wasn't great to us gambling wise, but we're every day we're gonna have daily picks, and we've pretty consistently been right around, and so that's yeah, pretty much. So I can kind of quit yapping here. That's pretty much all I got in mind is daily gambling picks and maybe some Wolves After Dark, a few other NBA content related videos, but maybe some power rankings. But that's what we have in mind for the channel going forward.